Okay, we are calling to order this regular board meeting. We apologize for being a couple minutes behind, but we will call to order at 7:05 p.m. And we're going to do our roll call.
Student Board Member McKenzie.
Here.
Board Member Mahoney. Oh, sorry. Trustee Khan. Here. Trustee Boyd.
Here.
Vice President Hopwood. Here. President Davidson.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay. We will now do our reading of the AUSD mission and vision statement and meeting norms. And Student Board Member Shepard, would you like to do all of this, or would you like one of us to take on part of it? I'm happy to read a portion if...
I can read it. Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome.
Mission and vision statement. The mission of Albany Unified School District is to provide excellent public education that empowers all to achieve their fullest potential as productive citizens. AUSD is committed to creating comprehensive learning opportunities in a safe, supportive, and collaborative environment, addressing the individual needs of each student. Meeting norms. Maintain a focus on what is best for our students. Ensure a safe environment for all views to be expressed, treating each other, staff, and the public respectfully. Endeavor to find common solutions to issues through collaboration without sacrificing one's beliefs in what is best for the students. Make a commitment to effective deliberation, each one listening with an open mind while others are allowed to express their own points of view, even if one disagrees.
Wonderful. Thank you. We will now say the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand and join if you would like. Great. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States. All right. There was no action taken in closed session, so we are now looking for questions from the board or items that need to be adjusted or a motion to approve the agenda.
To approve the agenda. I'll second.
All right, all in favor of approving the agenda?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the agenda is approved unanimously, so we can now move on with our agenda for the evening. And we now have student board member reports.
We don't have one, but it's really nice to be back in school and fun to see everybody again.
Can you just remind, tell us your year and just a quick second, because some of us, are just meeting you for the second or third time, and welcome up here to the board.
I'm Mackenzie Shepard. I'm a sophomore at Albany High School. I've been in the district since I was 3, and yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to be here.
Well, thank you so much.
And she's been watching board meetings longer than I have.
Okay, we're going to turn to you for all questions from now on.
And participating in them too.
My favorite thing about all these is that we have the students, especially when we get our spotlights back. Oh, those are the best. Okay. Seeing that there's no student board member report, we will now take public comment for matters not on the agenda. If you have a public comment and you're in our virtual audience, please raise your hand. If you have a public comment and you're here in person, please approach the podium. Make sure that you get a speaker card to Julie, and we'll do 2 minutes for any public comment this evening. Public comments right at this one. Perfect. And I'll go, you can do it after, it's totally fine. And we'll go ahead and give you your 2 minutes, and then I'll go to our virtual audience after.
Okay. Thank you. Good evening, board. Welcome back, everybody. I am Anna Teal. I am an AMS parent, and I don't know how many of you remember being a middle schooler. I do. I remember the feelings more than the details. And I know that if my parent was speaking in front of a school board about me, I would be mortified. But my kid also was put on blast today by the district, and so I felt it was important to come and speak about it personally. And This is indicative for me of a larger problem in our district and at AMS. And so I wanted to address it directly. The email came out today that we all got referencing graffiti at AMS. And this was found by my kid. And the email also referenced that it was investigated immediately, which it wasn't, no fault of the school or the district. It wasn't reported immediately. It did also come out in the email that no evidence of it was found and no evidence of its removal was found. And to me, that speaks very clearly that you do not believe my kid. And I find that to be a problem, especially when it's part of a larger series of incidents that have happened. And the graffiti itself wasn't, like the message or the messaging wasn't referenced in the email, but it read, "Free Israel from Hamas. Anyone who says free Palestine or supports Hamas rape is a dead man." And it was written in pencil in a stall in a girl's room. It was gone by Monday evening. That's all I know, but I think it's important to actually say what the graffiti is and see how that is affecting our students. Overall, I think students aren't really feeling like they can say anything. I know I ran out of time.
Yeah, thank you so much for your comment. We appreciate it.
Oh, I have so much more. I will email you. Thank you.
All right, we have one more in our virtual audience.
Hi, my name is Amber Yeda. I am an AMS parent as well. I would like to thank the board and the district for your quick response to the disturbing graffiti incident from last Friday, but in the quickness, I really want to make sure that some points are not lost. The environment of silence at AUSD has provided the space for these violent thoughts against Palestinians and supporters to fester and end up as threats on the wall of a bathroom. It's not unlike an incident at Ocean View where a student stabbed a Palestinian flag. These are early warning signs that students are not receiving accurate information about the history of Palestine and the occupation, and creating an environment that does not feel safe for Sawana families, for Muslim families, for Palestinian families. It's not just an uptick in hate, it is increased violence and apathy against Palestinians who are being genocided by our country. I understand that this graffiti is being treated as an alleged incident, but as you heard from Anna, the student saw evidence that had been wiped off and that was ignored. And so I feel like the district is really trying to quickly brush this off. And I think that the lessons from the past in the district show that brushing something off and under the rug just causes it to get bigger. We need for all AUSD students and staff and the board, each person on the board, to learn about Palestine from the Palestinian perspective. It's been long silenced. It's the perspective that people don't hear and don't know. It's the perspective that's being kept from the DNC right now. Teachers have academic freedom to choose whether to bring it into the curriculum, but we need them to know the basics so that when things like this come up, they can counter it, they can redirect and intervene when hate, misinformation, and bullying comes up. Right now at AUSD, students think, of many backgrounds, think that to be in support of Palestine is anti-Semitic, and it's because the adults are not correcting them, the media is reinforcing them.
Thank you so much for your
not to
comment. We appreciate all of our public comment. Seeing no further public comment on items not on the agenda, we are going to move on to our approval of the consent calendar. So if anyone has items that we need to pull or have questions, this is the time. Or we'll take a motion to approve the consent calendar. And just a reminder to anybody, if you are not a board member and have questions about the consent calendar, our agenda is posted 72 hours in advance. And so if you email us those questions in advance of the board meeting, then we can address them. Otherwise, we won't know.
Move that we approve the consent calendar.
I second the motion.
All right. All in favor of approving the consent calendar? Aye. All right. The Consent calendar has also passed unanimously. We will now move on to staff reports, and our first staff report for the evening is on the 2023-2024 summer programs.
Good evening, Board Trustees, Superintendent Evans, District Leadership Team, Albany educators, and community. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share information about our summer programs. For the second year in a row, we were able to provide 2 summer programs focused on academics and enrichment to ensure learning continuity for our most vulnerable, underserved, and under-resourced students. Our principal of Albany Middle School served as our summer school principal for the district, and he is here tonight to share enrollment as well as program information that we provided this summer in the months of June and July. And also we have here tonight Mr. Fran Galati, who serves as the CEO of the YMCA, to share information with us about the Expanded Learning Opportunities Summer Program. So without further ado, I introduce to you Mr. Mapes.
Thank you, Dr. Shin. Hi, everybody. Good evening. Before I start, I just want to say I am so proud of student trustee Mackenzie Shepard. She was one of my students my first year, and I'm very proud to see you up here, so congratulations. Trustees, it's great to see you all. Dr. Evans, Trustee Mahoney, welcome. So summer school, I enjoy summer school. It's a lot of fun. This year we had it at Marin School. So I want to thank Melissa Poole and the entire staff, custodial staff at Marin for allowing us to use the facilities. It was actually a really good place to have both of our programs at the same time. Now I need to put my glasses back on. So summer school is a little different. We had a total of 9 teachers for all of our programs, and out of those 9 teachers, 6 of them were AUSD teachers, which was great to have people in the district working with our children. The other 3 were terrific, and I actually knew one from my time at El Cerrito High School, so it was nice to reunite. We had 16 paraprofessionals working, and we had 8 support staff. I was lucky enough, Annie J. Fishberg is no longer with us. She's now at Berkeley High School as an assistant principal, but she was the acting assistant principal for me, and it was really nice to have a team to bounce ideas and things that were happening during summer school. We had Carter Taw as our secretary, who's also in the district, so it was really nice to have people in there that we knew, and we worked really closely together. I also want to thank Josh Reed at ACC and his team, because we had our preschool class at that location. Next slide, please. So for the special education program, which is known as the extended school year, we had 4 programs. We had the preschool classroom, which was at the ACC, and that was for students in pre-K. Then we had the elementary classroom, which were students in kindergarten through 3rd grade. And then the middle school was 4th through 8th. And the high school was 9 through adult transition. So it was a big program. We had more students this year, and it was a lot of fun to be able to be outside, and great timing with the Summer Olympics. So that was one of the themes that we had this year at summer school. English language development. This is a great program for our kids who are learning English as a second language. We've broadened the number of students who can attend because the numbers weren't there for just having a 5th grade transition and an 8th grade transition. So a lot of the students knew each other, and it was just a time for them to continue with their socialization. They did some learning, they played games, and they had a lot of fun. The ESY program went from 8:30 to 12:30 every day for 20 days, and the ELD program went from 8:30 to 11:30. Next slide. And then we had the high school credit recovery and grade, I like to call it elevation. These were students at the high school that we recruited since January. We started the recruitment since January for students who needed recovery or elevation in math classes, English classes, and history classes. So that went we actually had it twice. So we had an 8:30 to 11:30, and then a 12:30 to 3:30 in person. So I'll talk a little bit more about that, but that was actually something I think that was really important for students who needed more than 5 credits over the summer. Next slide, please. So a lot of the focus, is we had Miss Fisher as our math teacher. And we had Miss Richardson as our English teacher, and our history teacher, Mr. Cronenberg, has been doing summer school for a couple of years. And we really focused on relationship building with the kids and getting to know the kids. And some of the students that I had the summer before, I had again this summer. And it was really nice to see them. And now I see them as they're coming to and from the high school. And it's nice to be able to say hello, and they know who I am, and they feel comfortable being around me as the big bad middle school principal. We really focused on attendance. Carter, every single day, would make phone calls the moment a student wasn't there and say, your student's not here, are they coming? And really kind of made sure that we were addressing those needs, because students could not miss more than 3 days of school, or else they were not eligible for their grades to be changed from D's and F's. So that was an important piece. We checked in with the kids all the time. We went into the classrooms. We were always outside when they were on breaks. So it was just, and then we had Chromebooks in every classroom that we brought from the middle school, so there was technology in every classroom. We utilized the Marin School building that is closest to Marin at Marin Avenue, so that was nice that we were able to be in one area together. And our office was next door to all the high school classes, so it was really nice to have that ability. Next slide, please. What do we have here? So this is just the numbers of the students who attended 2 years ago and who attended or signed up to attend this year. If you notice that the ELD program was larger, and it was of students signing up to attend. Preschool and the ESY program was larger for K through 5 and preschool. So our numbers were up except for in the middle school ESY program. So overall, we had 82 students signed up for the 3 programs, and that's not including not having the social emotional classes that we had 2 years ago that were for 2 hours at a time. We had a hard time 2 years ago really keeping kids in that program and attracting them. Part of it was the ELOP program is so amazing that they were switching off to that program instead of the SEL program. So we did not hold that program this year. Next slide, please. So these are the numbers of students who signed up to take credit recovery and grade elevation. And if you notice, I put in here 14 of the students who took a class in the morning also took math in the afternoon. So they came for 6 hours a day. And we actually had a couple of those 14 students take math in the morning with Ms. Fisher and math again in the afternoon. So they had 10 credits, which is a full year of credit recovery or grade elevation. So those numbers were pretty high for math, which is great. English was a little down from the year before and pretty consistent with our history classes. Next slide, please. So this is a breakdown of just how many of the students needed to take this for grade recovery versus grade elevation based on subject matter. So it's pretty even when it comes to the math. English, we had a little bit more students needing credit recovery, as well as in the social studies classes. So this was a really important piece for the students to be able to have this opportunity, and I really want to thank you for allowing this for students. Next slide, please. So here is the breakdown of the grades from summer school. What you don't see here is that we did lose some students between those who signed up and started to attend and those who did not finish. Part of the reason for that is there's some students were struggling with some mental health. We also had students unexpectedly who were going on a large family vacation who planned on attending and could not attend. We also had some students who signed up for the morning and the afternoon and realized it was just too much. So, excuse me, in English, that was the same number of students who signed up or the same numbers of students who finished. In math, we lost 7 students. And in history, we lost 4 students. We also recommended when parents would reach out to the students, the high school suggests students who want to take online class recovery. We I would send an email to those parents saying you also could do this on your own. These are what are recommended BYU and Silicon Valley High School, but it's not something that the district is responsible for. This would be something you do on your own. I'm not sure if students actually took us up on that, but I did make that offer to them in an email and in person. Next slide. The other way. One more. So overall, I mean, it was I enjoyed being there. As the kids were, we had food. The kids were able to have breakfast and have lunch. They showed up every day. They were on time. They weren't late. They stayed until the end. Those students who had to come back after the first round for high school, they came back. There's friendships. You could tell friendships were being made in those 20 days, which may not have happened if they hadn't attended. I do think that these are some of my recommendations, that it would be nice to have a counselor there if possible, at times, if even once a week, to kind of work with the students. I think it's really important that we continue the morning and afternoon sessions. To offer students up to 10 credits is really important. And if you struggle with attendance in your normal academic careers, being asked to do it online is sometimes would be really challenging for me. So I think it's better that we have this in-person option. We did, the mental health wellness. I think that would be something that would be beneficial for our kids. We were working, Ms. Frischberg, myself, and Mr. Ta were working with students, but it would have been really nice to have somebody from the high school or middle school who has that expertise there to counsel kids from time to time, be able to say they're going to be here on Wednesday or they'll be here on Thursday. The high school counselors, they're amazing. As a group, they did amazing work in recruiting these students. They were relentless in getting kids to sign up, because it can be, you start in January and kids aren't paying much attention, and you get to May and they're just ready to be done. So they really worked hard at recruiting, so somehow compensating them if possible in some way. I would actually, the last one is a big one. I would like to consider for next year possibly having an integrated academic support class for possibly our students transitioning from elementary to middle or middle to high, where they can get additional support in reading and math. We can make it fun. They could do project-based learning. They could play games and learn at the same time, but I think that could help really work on some of those concepts that they maybe have gaps in. So overall, loved it. Love to do it again if I get the opportunity. It's a lot of fun. So. And that is it from my end. I don't know if you have any questions.
Do you prefer that we pause and do questions on this one and then hear the next one, or do you want us to wait until everybody's done?
Okay.
All the way? Okay.
Beautiful. All right. You're up, sir.
Okay. Good to see everybody tonight. Before starting, I want to thank Ann and the principal, because he does a fantastic job with campus management all summer. My staff can't say enough about him. It's a busy campus. We've got 3 different groups, and somehow or other, it's actually him. He's kind of the glue, and my staff wanted to make sure I recognize him tonight. One other thing, if you like ELOP, make sure the governor and make sure your legislators know, because it's not locked in financially. It's not like the ACES program. So I personally, whether we do it or somebody else does it, I think it's invaluable for every kid to have a high-quality summer and after-school program. So I believe it's the right big vision for California and all California kids. And now is the time, as the governor's term is winding down, to make sure the legislators know that this ought to be a priority. I think a little presentation up there. I can go by my notes. So this summer we were at the same school. We had 150 kids participate, and we had really strong summer attendance. I talked to the team as I was driving over here, and I said, well, why do kids miss? Number one reason, they're catching up on their dental work in the summer. So I thought you might want to know that. We had kids from all 4 schools participate. And the program goals in the summer, just to recast what they are, bridge the summer enrichment and learning gap, S&L learning is always important, making friends and having fun. They're there all day, 6 weeks in a row. We kind of think of it like summer camp with some academic augmentation. Program successes, first, kids made good social connections, good friends. Number two, and this cannot be underscored enough, we had a good partnership with the district. Some kids had some needs that were beyond the scope of the current team. Working with Ann and the team on the ground, we were able to find solutions. Sometimes not always on the first crack, but we had to wade through that. So I thought that was a real success. And the communication back and forth smoothed out the enrollment process this year, which was bumpy. And just for reference, like we're doing this in a lot of districts, and we are getting better and better at the programming, so that's good. The superintendent, who I understand is 8 weeks away from a long vacation, asked me to highlight, the learning gap activities, and they fall into 3 different categories. They're not on the slide. The first is literacy and learning, and every single day the kids had reading and journaling. And they actually shared their journals, and the kids had the opportunity every single day. If they wanted to read aloud to the rest of the group, they did. For the TKers, it was often picture books. Some of the kids are a little bit more advanced, so that's what we did. So they might draw pictures, but they weren't actually necessarily journaling and keeping a journal. So literacy was number 1. Number 2 were the STEM activities. STEM, engineering, Legos, building rockets. The kids love that stuff. And where we could, applied mathematics, like on the Legos. And the last were the why, right? So it's got to be sports, play, and movement. And, much like Eric, we had an Olympic theme. We did indoor ice skating. How, you ask? You put paper underneath the kids' feet, and they skate around. They had a blast with it. We did obstacle courses. Messy baseball was a big, fun activity. I personally am sad every year. Should be an Olympic sport. I know a lot of people don't think so, but basically you put shaving cream in a baseball, and you've got some good baseball players here in Albany, I got to tell you. It's when they hit that thing, it explodes. So lots of fun, and those were some of the key activities. It was a good summer, good collaboration, busy campus. I would say our areas for improvement. Probably still, like a lot of programs, having a full cadre of staff that are fully committed all the way through the summer that was a bit of a challenge. We had, on the fringes, we had some inconsistency with some of our younger staffing, but that's something we're always working on. And it's a little bit different. I think we're getting better at programming. The relationships are good. We were excited about the progress that we made this summer. Looking ahead to the fall, the things that we're working on delivering the basic programming. You know this already, but we're going to augment the program by bringing in different specialists. So the 2 that I know that we have lined up for the younger grades, we haven't gotten to middle school yet, but we're looking at bringing in Lego specialists and robotics. And we're looking at really how to bolster the curriculum during the school year at the 3 programs. I texted my team while I was talking to Eric, and I said, he's got a lot of ideas about what the kids would want to do in middle school. It's a little bit more difficult to attract them. So overall, it was a good summer. We appreciate the partnership. And, if you like the program, it's not about the why, it's about ELOP for kids statewide. Now's a great time to speak out. So let's see if I missed anything. All the way to the end. I think we're good.
Sorry, we're talking Lego building over here. It's really important conversation. Joking. My son discovered the app where you can find all the instructions, and now all our Lego sets are coming back to life. I'm so excited. Yeah. My husband says we're going to pay for college with our Lego investment, so there you go. Okay. Any board questions, comments, reflections?
Thank you for the presentations. I just want to say it's really great to hear these updates and reports and to hear how wonderful and vibrant and well-attended and all that was accomplished during the summer for all of our students. I wanted two things. Firstly, just at some point when you are in the process of approving what's going to be happening for the next summer program, if we can have an agenda item to make sure that we're not losing those suggestions, because those are really great suggestions, and it would be wonderful to try to implement some of that in the next program. And also, just small Principal Mapes appreciation, because for anyone who is near the crosswalk in front of the middle school in the mornings ever, he is out there in the middle of the street directing children and cars, paying no heed to his own personal safety, to make sure that our community is well cared for. And it warms the heart and brings a smile to my face. It's a joy to see, and it's really just such an example of watching a principal take ownership of his school and do what needs to be done there. It's not a small thing. So thank you for everything you do.
Trustee Boyd already covered like the bulk of it, so I'm gonna just, I think between both of the programs, just really loved hearing how you both have incorporated like a lot of the stuff that like was discussed in previous meetings, and particularly like just the very student-centered approaches and like meeting students where they're at, especially some of the recommendations and some of the like stuff that both of you brought up. Like it just, for me, it's heartening to see that we're prioritizing students and what's best for them, and just like how thoughtful a lot of this was. Just really appreciate both of you guys.
Thanks for everything you've done this summer, and also I really appreciate having this meeting this month. Last year we had it in the end of September, and it's kind of nice to do it right when it's fresh, so I think if we could do that again next year, that would be great. Thank you.
My first thought, I'm watching the math numbers and going, that's so many students in those math classes, and I was reflecting that, oh wait, I had to take chemistry at the community college and in high school to actually get it, and it's nice sometimes to offer our students a different teacher during the summer, a different approach, and so I'm really grateful that we have that, and that, you know, we can also show students like the younger and the older that everyone does summer school, different ages, we're all together, and it's fun and not this terrible thing. And the 150 students in the ELOP, that's a big number for our district. That's really wonderful that that many students had something that was provided this summer that was richer than, you know, a lot of camps out there, it sounds like. I don't think we're gonna get away from that fringe staffing, so maybe we can like entice some of our own AUSD staff to help fill those like end gaps for you or something. Maybe we partner more on that. Yeah.
And I think we could augment it with specialists in the summer too, because it kind of lightens the load on the staff when the kids are engaged. But I love the AUSD idea, you know, to bring them in to help with the journaling and maybe even incorporating some more critical math skills. So, and just keep him working in the summers, because it's a good mix. Yeah.
There's one teacher runs a like writing news camp at the middle school in the summer. I sat in for part of it this summer. Oh my gosh, phenomenal. Yeah, so good. So I mean, the more we can kind of like tap into those people and just keep those things going, it's fantastic. Okay, we will now take public comment on our summer program. So if you have public comment in person, come on up to the podium. In the virtual audience, raise your hand. And this is on our summer programming. Okay, seeing none, we will adjourn this item, and thank you all. Oh, not quite.
Yeah, one last thing. We know teachers, you know, they work really hard, and some of them have given up their classrooms in the fall for the ELOP program. We know it's a tight fit. We're going to reach out to those teachers and see if they would like a membership to the Y on the House, and they can use any Y in the country, and maybe incentivize it. I mean, we've got to thank them. I know it's a big cultural break. We probably need more classrooms than we have right now to make it fluid, but I want to pay special appreciation to those teachers who said, hey, I'll do it. You know, I don't think it was easy, but we really appreciate it. So Lupe Lopez, who works with the district closely, she's going to do some outreach in the next week and see if we can get them signed up.
So just to hear that correctly, for this fall, for the ELOP that's happening, we have teachers who are sharing their classrooms.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
During the school year.
Yeah, yeah, and it's, oh,
We don't.
1 or 2. Yeah. Sure. Okay. I saw something different.
Yes, we.
Oh,
So you're willing to offer an incentive of a YMCA membership to any teacher
we are.
who will share a classroom?
We definitely are, and we kind of want to put that out there loud and proud. Hey, if you're interested in trying sharing it, we'll pilot this, and you can get a free membership to the Y and use any Y in the country. So you don't have to live in Albany. You can be in the city, commute here. So yeah, we want to put that out there and show a special thanks. Okay, thank you.
Incentives are always helpful. Okay, we did actually, because we extended that, have one public comment raise a hand, so I'm going to go ahead and take that right now.
Hi there.
Hi.
Can you hear me? Hi, this is Neri Castillo McIntyre. I am calling just with a quick comment about the summer program. India's teacher at Marine, Alex Chung, was really great. And in fact, she was so great that we tried to recruit her into the district. Unfortunately, she was pretty happy where she was. But I think that if there's anything the district can do, I'm making a public statement to Director Brian Biggs to go out and recruit Alex Chung to join AUSD because she was great. She was so calm. She always, obviously she had experience, and she was unfazed by all kinds of different personalities in her classroom, so it was great to have her. Thank you.
All right, well, I'm just going to remind everyone, we don't discuss personnel in our board meetings, so we will take the accolades happily, but we're going to pause that one. Okay, we will now adjourn that item. Thank you all for coming and leading our summer program, and we are going to move on to our review and action item for the evening, which is our superintendent search process.
Thank you, and I'd like to turn it over to Eric Andrews. Dr. Andrews will have a list of wonderful things for the board to decide upon today, which includes some of the characteristics and qualities of a superintendent, as well as some of the strengths and challenges. And he will also talk about the salary range and a couple of other items that the board needs to know as we prepare for our search, which is actually underway right now.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate being here. Congratulations to the board. Sounds like your summer program was absolutely outstanding. Having seen many presentations and so on, the enthusiasm was incredible. I really love seeing that. And I love your idea on thinking about students first. That's so important. Our search is on the way. We're really going through the process. We're moving forward. We completed our input sessions with your ed partners. We had about 19 groups invited. We've had an opportunity to go over the 3 main questions. Tonight we're going to talk about 3 things, as Dr. Evans says. We're going to talk a little bit about the salary range. We're going to talk about the characteristics that the board would like to see in the next superintendent, and we'll follow it up with some ideas about some community input partners for the interview process, since we've agreed to have both in board panel as well as community panel. So we'll talk a little bit about that. With that being said, we've also are in the process of completing the executive summary, which is a summary of all of the online survey information, the input sessions, and so on. We hope to get that to you sometime by the end of the week. In addition to that, we will finish up the position description sometime this week and send that out to you as well. It's important that we move forward on the position description quickly because, as you know, the position closes on September 6th. We want to make sure candidates know exactly what the characteristics the board is looking for. Yes, moving It is moving. And in addition to that, it helps us in terms of our recruiting. We are getting several people who have shown interest. We've got 19 folks who have pulled applications at this point, 4 who have submitted. We are very much in touch with some very, very strong candidates. So I am very excited to know that you're going to have some strong candidates for the position. So that's good to know. With that being said, let's talk a little bit about the salary range. I think most of you have an idea with
I'm actually not sure because I think 3 board members probably actually have no idea.
Oh, okay.
And we have not had any opportunity to discuss this at all. You might have a ballpark.
Yeah, and that's what by the way, thank you for saying that. I appreciate that because what we're looking for is a range, not an absolute. Your range is important because if you get someone who is their very first superintendency, their salary may be different from someone who has 9 years of experience. And so we want a range in which we can gives the board some flexibility in terms of negotiating contract. We do not negotiate the contract. One of the things we will do, though, as we pick the finalists for the interviews, we will ask them to complete what's called a contract parameter. And that contract parameter basically says, here's how much they're going to be asking. That price is going to generally be what's on the position description. It's going to be within that range, so they know that they're not going to ask for an outlandish number if they see here's the range of the contract itself. So we do know that looking at Dr. Wells' contract, if you don't mind me sharing, it was somewhere in the vicinity of $269 last year, with a bump would have been $277 this year. That is a very healthy salary for this area. So I would suggest that if you were somewhere in that ballpark and range, you would get your superintendent candidates along the way. Is there a question, comment?
Just had a quick question. I know we're talking salary. I just wanted to just confirm, we're only going to talk about salary, not benefits, right?
Correct.
Okay, cool.
Correct. Thank you so much. Yes, just salary.
Well, I don't know because you and I will recall, Melissa, that we were having, there was a lot of conversation around that with Dr. Wells. So the position originally did not have any benefits listed, and then benefits were added, but then there was conversation about cash in lieu, but we don't offer cash in lieu as a district to anybody. And so it was, that was a challenging thing to navigate was, well, we could offer a higher salary if we did cash in lieu of benefits, but then we were setting that as sort of parameters, and we, I think, left it, or bringing back, which we never were able to do. So I don't know what the general protocol is around that. Do we just talk salary, and then the assumption is they just get the same benefits as everyone else in the district, or?
For the most part, that's what they're going to ask. Most of the candidates are going to say, here's a salary, we're going to want the same benefits as your management staff. That's very much the industry standard along the way.
Okay. Is the range that you just mentioned typical for a district of our size? The sort of 3,500 plus students?
There are a lot of factors that involved in that, because sometimes when we look at what's called the J90 report, we say we're going to pull up all the districts that are somewhere around 3,500 students, roughly. Well, it's different if that 3,500 students are in Central Valley, in Los Angeles, Bay Area. That salary you're talking about is very much commensurate with what we find up here. Yes.
And then I have a question. So previous superintendents, was their salary subject to the same pay increases when we negotiate? And that's, I think, something that came up on our board in the last couple of years. Was at one point our teachers negotiated, I think it was like a 9% increase at one point a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. And I think we started talks about whether that was appropriate. Anyway, I'm just bringing that up as something.
I think I recall that our superintendent might have not taken that one so that we could keep things in good standing. I don't remember 100%. But there's a Me Too clause in our district so that whatever we negotiate with ATA, because those are the labor partners that we negotiate with the most, then it goes on to everybody else in the district. And then I think there's a clause in there that is basically like anyone who's not covered by a union also gets the Me Too. And so that's what they were saying. He was at 269, and now because we had a 3% raise for everybody, it would be 277. And I just want to remind everyone that, I think this kind of, for me, ties into sort of what we're looking for in a superintendent, ties into the salary range. Because I kind of want to make it, I would prefer that we look for somebody where it's not their first superintendency. I think we have experienced that. We've gone through a lot of changes and shifts recently, and I think we need somebody who can continue with like a steady hand like we've been experiencing and not have that. And so that might impact where we need to place things. That's my opinion personally, so.
On the salaries, you talked a little bit about Bay Area, that range is right. How is size of district a key, what are the key, if there are 2 or 3 key indicators of, or impacts on salary? Obviously, cost of living in the area is one of them. What are the other two or three I should keep in mind?
The other two is whether the district is what's called a community-funded, used to be called basic aid, in which the property taxes exceed the amount that the state gives. And then or if it's a state-funded, which says the state is primarily responsible for that area along the way. So those are really the factors that play into it.
We are not a community-funded district.
No.
Okay. If anyone wants to go back and
I'm aware of that.
watch the budget presentations from not too long ago, Jackie did a fantastic job of explaining.
Yeah, you guys are a unique district in a sense of where you are located, yet you don't get the same benefits as a lot of other. And that's why I'm saying that your range, very healthy. I will say this, if we strictly restrict the pool to sitting superintendents, you're going to have a very small pool. And I say that because, as we mentioned before, because you're having a community panel, that has shifted. We've had conversations with superintendents who really want to know, is this going to happen? How can we keep it? And none of them have pulled or applied yet. Now, I mentioned to you before, sitting superintendents often wait to the very, very, very last minute to apply, but it does shift the pool itself.
So we want to focus. So we're just focusing right now on the salary range,
Correct.
right? And okay.
Yes. Excuse me for bouncing around. I've got a little sciatica happening, and so I'm kind of moving back and forth. That's my wiggleness. I do have pretty hyper personality, but just saying. Question, comment?
Just, do you have a recommended range that you were planning to present to the board, or how do you expect this? No.
No. I don't play with your money.
But you know a whole lot more about this than I do.
But I will say, that, and so that's why I made the comment, your current range is sufficient. Current range.
So if we just posted the position from 269,000 to 277,000 for right now, and we just left it at that, that would be.
But that was.
Yeah, you could actually even drop it a little bit if you chose
Okay.
to. I
Yeah,
would drop
because
the bottom.
that was Dr. Wells.
Yeah.
That was Dr. Wells' current.
You didn't hear me say that, but yes, I would.
But also because
It's recorded now, so.
I know, I'm just teasing.
that was on the basis that, that was what we were paying Dr. Wells, and he had obviously been in post for a number of years as a sitting superintendent. So we want to make sure that our range encompasses people who are not current superintendents.
Correct.
To people who have had many years' experience, so.
Okay, slightly different question. What would you recommend should be the difference between the minimum and maximum in the range?
Typically $20,000.
That's helpful.
Oh, it's that tight.
Yeah, usually about 20, 25 max.
Really give you a lot of movement
Yeah.
room for, okay. I would recommend, I mean, if it was me, I would maybe say we try and start at like 255, 252, 250.
My mental math was 270 or 275 is the high, and then pull down from there to 25 and get to 250 to 275 or something like that, given what we're currently.
I feel like people pay less attention when you throw a random other number in with it. So like 251 or 252. I'm just.
250, 249.99. That was a joke.
672. The price is right. I think that if we stuck with 275 as kind of our high, and then we said that we had about a 25,000, in that. So basically 250 to 275.
I think that's fair.
Okay.
I really do. I think
Okay.
you'll attract the right people. Okay, one down.
1 second.
Yes.
I think we're down. Do we need to vote on each of these parts? Is that something?
So actually, my range that I had come up with was actually much lower. It was more so 245 to 265. I know that's kind of quite a bit jump lower than what Vonnie had suggested, President Davidson had suggested, but part of it for me is that we don't know who's coming in, and also like there is going to be, like every year we expect to be in contract negotiations with our teachers union, and so there will be time to, potentially up it if that is the case. But I don't know. For me, that was I debated a couple different ranges, but 245 to 265 is what I felt more comfortable with, and it's probably lower than most people are expecting. But for me, it's more so just that we don't know who we're getting, and they probably are going to be wonderful, but like that potential pay raise is really not that far off either. You know what I mean? And like, I don't know, for me, that felt a little bit more fair, and feel free to disagree, but that was the mindset that I was coming in with. But yeah.
I think I would disagree a little, and I am very budget-minded, but at the same time, I feel like we want someone of caliber, and if it's a competitive process and another district, you don't know, we might have a great candidate going for a position in another district, and I just don't want us to not have any wiggle room. And we're already saying that Dr. Wells was at 269.
That was after like a handful, because we had done a couple of COVID raises that he was a part of. And we did a lot of research on what surrounding districts were paying, like in similar size. Like we did a whole breakdown and all of that stuff. So also remember that the superintendent, when we give an evaluation, which you never got to do, when we do an evaluation, if they get a satisfactory and above evaluation, then they can come back and negotiate their contract higher outside of the Me Too negotiations. So I wouldn't be opposed to starting it a little bit lower, but I also want us to be careful that we're not double shutting out people, and we're going to end up with like.
I think the other potential that we could consider is just have the higher range a little bit higher, but like I know you said like 20 is probably the range, and like if it like 245 to 270 instead, like add that larger range in between if that feels more comfortable.
Yeah, I think we need a range, just because we don't know if we're going to have someone who's been a sitting superintendent for a long time, or someone who it's their first superintendency.
I think putting 240
If I can interject just quickly regarding a couple of people who I've spoken with. One is a sitting superintendent. Pull an application, probably is going to apply. Definitely had to be 250 or above.
I think we should
Have an assistant soup who's definitely going to apply. He's making 240 something. Because in this area, that's just what the going rate is.
I think in California.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking, that is a little bit, like, there's enough wiggle room, but also, like, if the lower range you're talking about is 242, right? Or did I, 245?
Well, I mean, we would
I
need,
forgot the number you said. I know it was 240 something.
we
but
would
it
need
just-
to go up, I feel like we need to be above 245.
I feel like there's nothing wrong with having, like, it just, I don't
If
know.
if you're brand new.
Right. I'd rather.
I
just
think
have extra
assistant
wiggle.
superintendents are making in the 240 range.
They
We're
are.
also super going back and forth about $5,000.
Yeah,
now.
right?
No, that's,
Me too. I'm in the same
that's
thing.
what I'm saying, like,
So can we just go with, can we just, fine, you wanna, we can list it as that, like 245 and go to 270?
I don't see the problem.
I'm like, it's $5,000. We'll each write a check for non-existent money. Okay, so we're looking for a motion. If someone wants to make, I'm going to say that we're going to vote as
Yes.
a board independently on salary, and then we're going to discuss things that we're looking at. Is that okay with
Yes, and
everybody?
this is important to vote on because this will go on a public document.
Exactly.
Yes.
So if anyone wants to make a motion and then second, and we can vote, that's a great way to show right now. And if someone's feeling strongly in either direction, make a motion. Oh, Josh, go. You're leaning to that mic.
Jesus. I'll make a motion that the salary range is 250 to 270. I would go through.
Okay, all right.
That's what we agreed on, or we're starting to line around.
We're looking for a second on a salary range of 250 to 270.
Second, the new guy.
Hey, this is easier than our first vote, okay? Okay. Let's roll call this one, just to be,
We'll start with the student board member Shepherd,
Yes.
student board member Deodar,
Yes.
trustee Mahoney,
Yep.
trustee Khan,
I'm outnumbered, so yes.
trustee Boyd,
Yes.
vice president Hopwood,
yes,
president Davidson.
yes. Okay, could have just done it all, but I want to make sure we all feel like we're getting our time. Okay.
So the range is going to be 250 to 270, correct? Got it.
Okay. All right. We like doing evaluations, so we can do one quickly.
Exactly that.
Okay, we are going to move on now and talk about qualities and characteristics, okay?
Yes. And so as you know, with all of the groups we met with, we asked them all three prompts, and students may remember this. The first one being, what are the characteristics you want to see in your next superintendent? The second prompt is, what are the strengths of the district? And that's where you get a chance to brag about the district, and that's where I'll be going out bragging to candidates. Here's why you want to come to Albany. And then thirdly, we want to know what are your areas of growth or challenges that you do see in the future for your district. Okay. If, for example, we will start with the characteristics and we move down to the strengths and someone says, oh, by the way, I thought of another characteristic, feel free just to say, 'cause, I've got another characteristic, this is fluid. You may also find that a strength is also a challenge. It could be in both categories. So with that being said, let's get started. What are the characteristics you want to see in the next superintendent?
I can start. I think there are some really obvious characteristics. So things like empathy, leadership, communication. I think the one that I'm most keen on is someone who has vision. That would be my top characteristic. And also someone perhaps who understands that Albany is a really, I think, exceptional community.
Okay. Others?
Okay, so I want somebody that has I think seconding this, a strong like district vision for Albany that ties into sort of where we've been coming from, but also really where we want to take the district and works in collaboration with the board and community on a vision. And then I would like somebody who has shown consistency in their leadership. So what I mean by that is somebody who can make a decision and say, this is the decision, here's how I'm going to carry that decision out, and can do the follow-through work. And I would like somebody who has some experience at some level of superintendency.
Yeah, I had assistant or superintendent, assistant superintendent or superintendent experience. I think the community outreach portion is pretty high on my list too, just given this community's been through a lot, like many communities have been over the last 5-10 years, whatever, and being able to bring that group, this group together and continue to move forward with that vision is going to be critical. I probably would prefer somebody with a teaching background, but that might be a controversial statement. And then I guess like on the nuts and bolts, I'm assuming like a doctorate and that sort of thing.
I'll go with, or equivalent experience, yeah. But I would like somebody who's been, like, gets schools. Yeah, yeah, really.
Yeah, I felt like table stakes to me, but I'm there.
And it's actually a good quality because you're going to be, well, we're always surprised by some of the candidates and their lack thereof. So.
Has at least stepped foot in a school. No, we would like a lot more than that.
No, like I said, I literally get it.
And I think somebody also who, I think this just played out for us today, but somebody who is willing to, like, step up when there's a challenge, but handle it with sort of like a calmness and reflectiveness, and then is able to communicate out.
I second everything that's been said. I also put a high value on having a vision. I do think that having been a teacher is important. I think having worked in all aspects of the district, as many aspects of the district as possible, someone who loves our children, someone who is gentle and kind, and someone who has the humility to understand when they're wrong, to self-correct, to take suggestions from other members of the community. And someone who protects their staff, someone who thinks of that as an important part of their job.
To build on that, I think the idea of being a learner themselves is high on my list in general.
Being a learner.
Being a learner.
That was something that we all, I think, valued in Dr. Wells, was he was always saying it's the cycle of continuous improvement and lifelong learning. So if we wanted to use those words of Dr. Wells, someone who values a cycle of continuous improvement and is a lifelong learner.
Just because it's come up already about a doctorate, so I was looking into this, and it seems that about half of superintendents have either an ED or a PhD. I mean, how do you feel about that? I mean, I worry that, as Bonnie just mentioned, having someone with an equivalent, just experience, but I wouldn't want to exclude really promising candidates by having that as an essential requirement. I mean, what's your feeling about that?
I have a lot of colleagues who do not have doctorates. I will say that in the last maybe decade or so, most do. And those who don't typically were promoted within the district. And so it wasn't a requirement. But for most superintendents now, I would say they do have some form of a doctorate degree.
Second to all the things that have already been said, but I think for me, a doctorate is not a make it or break it, more so because for me, I value like hands-on experience over theory. Theory, anyone can sit there and learn it, you know, but it's how well are you able to work with the people, because we are serving people and we are, you know, working with people. I do want to plus one just somebody who has classroom experience. I think you won't have the full idea of like what you're doing unless you've kind of seen all sides of it. So that's very important to me. I think the only thing that I guess hasn't already been directly mentioned is just like someone that's a go-getter, more so just because like, yes, there's gonna be time to learn and grow with everyone, but also having that go-getter energy and just being able to like really get into it. And I don't expect them to like work miracles in the first couple of, you know, months or anything, but like just kind of like just somebody that generally has that type of energy to me is important. But yeah, I don't think I can add anything.
Oh, one thing I just thought about also is a commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion.
I think on that, kind of following on that, something that we all really valued that was being started in our district was sort of that leadership around like the young men and women of color and that athletic leadership. So maybe someone who has some other, I don't quite know how to say it, but like someone who brings some other type of leadership in or some other connection that they can make with our students and our community would be really important. So we'd like to write a Mary Poppins ad now. And someone's gonna come in with the big bag and the umbrella and it's gonna be perfect. And a mouse in their pocket. We would like somebody who has a mouse in their pocket as well, please and thank you.
So far, you're looking for the unicorn, but it's okay.
That's Albany.
You get to do that.
Okay. Any other? And we're not gonna take public comment on this one because this is the board's
Correct.
direction, and we've done a survey and had input sessions, and so this is coming from the board, so I hope that's reasonable. Okay.
Yes.
To say that, any other student board members, you guys, have you had a chance to give input, and do you have anything you want to add right now?
Yeah, I mean, we already did the online survey, but I think the biggest thing for me was like someone who like enjoys like actually interacting with children.
Yeah.
Or like at school, because I know that Dr. Frank Wells would like come to the school a lot and like talk to people. So I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I agree with that. Someone who wants to interact with the students and learn, and also someone who has experience.
I think a good word for that is someone who's present, like very present in what's going on in our days.
Yeah, teachers and students mentioned often that Dr. Wells was at school sites all the time, and that was quite a change. So I think something, yeah, to be comfortable to be integrating would be perfect. And also a collaborator as well. I feel like someone who can collaborate with everybody and, you know, cabinet, board, teachers, students, everybody.
Like Principal Mapes was saying, but that with the bridge program, you know, somebody who can bridge all our different pieces and be that connector between all of them, because I feel like that's what we're not missing it right now. We just need someone who's going to stay with us and continue doing it. Okay, any other? Yeah.
This might be a given, but just like enthusiasm and excitement about our district.
Thank you.
We might ask questions in the interview that are very, you know, specific to Albany, so they should know a lot of things about us.
I feel like we threw so much at Eric, he's shrinking and shrinking. It's the physical representation of it all.
This district. Okay.
And so next, we're going to ask you, what are the strengths of the district? This is where you get a chance to brag.
Okay, so, I mean, one thing I'll say is that Albany has a really strong sense of community and like, not just community involvement, but sort of this interweaving among all our members in Albany.
And that could also be a negative as well. Like, there's nowhere to hide in Albany, you know?
We're only doing strengths of the
Yeah,
district.
but as Eric said before, sometimes one person's
Absolutely.
strength. I see it as a strength of community, but I also think you need to be aware of this community being so tight-knit that you are out there and visible and, yeah.
Other strengths.
It kind of adds to what President Davidson already said, but it's more so like, the way I see it is we're like a village and everybody steps in when you need to. And so we're not like a community where it's just like we just expect the superintendent to just figure it out. We are very much like, how can we step in and help? You know, like whether it's parents, whether it's teachers, whether it's students, whether it's board members or just even our local businesses, like everybody has this energy of like, this is our town, what can we do to like bring it up, you know, and the same goes for our schools. So it's a very hands-on community in that sense.
Sure. And that's coming through very clearly with all of the various groups.
Nobody's allowed to give a con to that one.
No, only strengths.
It's related to what Trustee Khan was just saying, but you know, our taxpayers support the measures that we put forward. Our parents and caregivers, you know, when there's like smoke in the classrooms, it's like, okay, who's getting the purifiers? What do we need? Like, it's, you know, there's a great deal of resourcefulness in the community among community members and caregivers, and a willingness to, just like Trustee Khan was saying, you know, push up your sleeves and help without being asked whether or not you are the room parent or the this parent or whatever. It's just like, there's a need and we need to fill it. And people take pride in being able to give whatever we need in our class. Like, there's not a thing that we can't do. It's just like, okay, we need to fundraise for this, fine, let's fundraise for it. Like, I think there's really that attitude.
Some other just like kind of more specific strengths and things that Albany's been working on is I want to go back to our environmental action plan, and it's, you know, having a vision, setting up a plan, and then starting to follow through on it. So we do that, and we're very much engaged in environmental action and involving our students in that. We're a district that really, I feel like, spotlights our students, and that shows all over. We have, I don't want to say academic excellence, but we have like high academic expectations, and I think we're critically assessing ways to help all students reach those expectations.
Our teachers and staff and administrators are exceptional, and I think everybody knows that. It's the reason that people move here. It's established for decades and decades now. It's like an institution.
At this point, I think everyone said everything on my list. So I would echo what everyone has said. I mean, I think when we talk about community, what I'm thinking about, not just the educational community, it's the broader community as a whole. Like, people are in Albany for their kids and for schools and for education. And it centers most, if not all, the choices that people have made about why they're here, which, to everyone's point, tremendous asset. With great power comes great responsibility, sort of thing, that it could be potentially challenging. But I've never seen a community so focused. It is the thing that shapes who we are, and that is a tremendous asset for the city.
Just from stepping back from like teaching in different places and looking at different things, I want to say, you know, Albany does have, we have a very, be really careful how I say this, like, we do have a lot of diversity, and we have a lot of like movement in it here, and I think it's an experience that you don't see in a lot of other districts and classrooms, is just this like, it's a broader variance, whereas in some districts, you know, there's maybe 2 different groups of people in a classroom, or it's just more differentiated. And I feel like here in Albany, there's just this broader embrace, but we also do have a lot of like sort of influx and outflow because we have UC Village, and so that's something that's pretty unique in our district. I think we really also value our students' interests, and that's become more and more evident at the middle school with all of the clubs that are being established.
I'm debating whether I need to say this one or not, but like our sports, our kids are so freaking good at sports, and like we see them going to, but it's just like literally they're, you know, like in these national competitions or like statewide competitions, and like, you know, there's a reason why there's a lot of dedication and passion, and I think that is a strength, and that's something we see not just in like sports and music, but also in academics and in community building. Like it's just lots of passion and lots of dedication and like the willingness to grow. Yeah.
Sorry.
Go.
I'll switch topics a little bit. Like another one I think we should think about is like we've made a lot of investments in infrastructure in the last few years, and so you're coming into a place that, granted, we've got more to do, but there's a really solid foundation. I think that whoever takes the role is going to be able to take advantage of.
I think that really does go to, that really speaks to our priorities here, and I'm just watching it like unfold in Oakland with the lead and the water, and it's like, okay, we take these things seriously here. It's the reason I joined the board was because I wanted HVAC in all of our schools, and now it's become a district priority that our kids are comfortable, and we see it, we can't run school without it, so we're willing to figure out how to do it. It goes back to the beginning of like roll up our sleeves and figure it out. What do we need to do to make this happen for the kids? You guys want to add any shining glows of Albany Unified?
Well, I think like you mentioned before, just like a tight-knit community, like everyone knows everyone. And like I run into my teachers like at Target and stuff all the time. And like I know where they live, some of them, so.
I feel like all of our programs are pretty good, like academics, sports, music. They're all like really established and have great support. Also, there's a lot of legacy in Albany, and I feel like a lot of people want to stay and continue on to like, they grew up in Albany and then they want to have a family in Albany, and it just continues on and on.
Okay, have we given you enough?
You have.
Oh, we got a little more. Hold on.
It's kind of related, but I think there's a real interest in doing better and being better, which I appreciate. And going back and forth on this because I don't want to sound self-serving, I feel like our board is one that really aims for and understands the importance of respect for each other, and I think like working well together. Like I don't know, when I say I'm on school board and people are like, oh, is it like, and they start saying these other things, and it's just like, no, that's not what we're like, you know? So I don't know, it's not just me, it's just something I came into, and it is something that I will leave, you know? It's not about any individual person, but I think that is what we aim for, and we understand the importance of it.
Thank you for that, and thank you for you. I have worked in and around those other boards. I'm at a point now where I don't have to any longer. I can just say no.
We go to CSBA conference and we hear it and we're like, no, no, thank you. No, thank you. Okay, anyone else want to finish us out?
Just adding to Trustee Boyd's thought was just that I think board members really do make an effort to like, even if we don't agree on everything, like we are still going to like build space and like grow together. Like, and I feel like that's a shared value for all of us, is that like that we're not gonna always agree, but we are gonna come into everything with a lot of respect and dignity and like make space for all opinions, and not, you know, like, I'm not gonna be mad about this one thing and then, you know, like hold on to it and like, you know, like bring it out when I'm mad at something. You know, like there's not, like there's an active effort to always make space for everyone at the table.
Right.
And I think that's, yeah.
Very evident.
I'm going to finish with one thing that I actually do think is really important for how like a superintendent is going to interact, and that is that we are a district, and I think a board especially, that really values data and having the information and all of the information. And, you know, I've seen us work really hard in the last couple of years to make sure that we were making informed choices and decisions and spending a lot of time. Like, as a board, we committed to giving a lot of extra time to learning. And so a superintendent has to be ready that we're going to ask for that. I think that will probably continue as some of us, you know, transition, but that seems to be the Albany way. Okay, is everybody full? Yeah? We're not doing challenges. We don't, that's not in a job description.
But do you
Now
see
we transition to opportunities.
It says it.
Opportunities.
But do you see how he rose up with all of our strengths? I'm just saying, there's a trend here.
Thank you, Trustee Khan.
We don't have any challenges. I'm joking.
So one thing I liked what Melissa said, and I thought of this, was just about a district that wants to do better, a community that wants to do better. And that just leads on to the challenges. So we have had challenges in the district. I've lived here for 22 years. Was a parent in the district for 18 in the last 20 years. And there have been challenges. But I don't think, as a community, we're not complacent. We don't accept that that's the way things have to be. So I'd say that we have challenges. So, for example, to do with equity and diversity. But on the flip side, we're a community that wants to address that and to improve things for our students and for our community. So I think even though we have challenges, I feel like they're positive things because they actually keep us engaged and motivated and wanting to do better. And the equity piece at the moment is one that has definitely been raised in terms of facilities and not just student equity, but just sort of all-encompassing equity. So I'd say that's a challenge that we're addressing.
I guess adding on to what Vice President Hopwood said, I think when it comes to diversity, and I know we mentioned data earlier, while yes, certain things are in the same trend statewide when it comes to certain data of like student achievement or test scores and so forth, I think the unique thing about here is that a lot of those groups are very small, and so there is room to make sure that we are supporting all students and making space to, you know, like if one way is not working, how do we figure out another way to support all of our students? I don't know how to word it right, but that's the thing, like, you know, for me it stands out, and I know it's a work in progress and people are working very hard towards bringing it up and ensuring that everybody's having, you know, has access to the support that they need, but that, you know, is still a work in progress. So I want to acknowledge that. The other thing I want to acknowledge that I hear a lot, I think, on the parent side is while I think when it comes to like larger things, parents do feel very well connected to what's going on, but then there are times where parents feel like they have no clue or like they're feeling kind of blindsided. And so I think, you know, just different methods of communication, there can always be room for growth there. And I guess this is like a very ultra specific one, but like PTAs, I feel like sometimes we need to like invigorate our parents and like get them in there. And sometimes like over communication is better, you know? So I guess it's kind of tied, but yeah. Like there's people that want to do the stuff, they just don't know where to plug in, I guess. But yeah.
Okay, our biggest challenge is our budget. We have no money. So we are a district that operates with very little in the bank, coming in, and we provide at a level that is above and beyond for our students. So I think that's a balancing act, and it's a real challenge. And then I think our other very tangible challenge is, physical space. And also balancing outdoor space with community need is a challenge because, our school district does something very unique in that we open our schoolyards as much as we can as parks, and that provides great resources, but it's also a challenge.
So this isn't a district-specific challenge, but it's kind of like being a small city and one that is so sought after. Obviously, there is difficulty with housing, and so sometimes that ends up being an issue for teachers or staff, or it can also be a challenge for it was mentioned earlier that we have a lot of international students that are tied to UC Berkeley but live in Albany, and their students come to Albany and they then want to stay in Albany, but it can be a challenge to find housing and stay within the district. So it's kind of more of a general issue, but it's a lot of people want to, they start off in kinder or elementary and they want to see it through to high school, but they're having challenges. So, yeah. Also, on that note, UC Village does not give us any tax money that they should be. And if this superintendent can tackle that and get us that money, yeah, thank you. That's what we want. And if they can figure that out, that'd be great.
Dr. Wells was ready for the fight. He was gearing up for it. He was going to take it on, but we need someone to continue that path, that legacy.
Very much on the other side of a strength can be a weakness. The fact that we are a high-performing district as far as test scores are concerned, et cetera, can lead to a focus on how great X percentage of students do in these various tests and a lack of focus on why we cannot provide the necessary services and support so that all of our students can perform at that level. It's something that I feel like we've been really trying to focus on and push against and ask questions about, and by we, I mean the entire district, full leadership, teachers, us on the board, et cetera. But that's something that is, I would love for us to rate our success based on how our students are doing who have not historically performed at the same levels, and not just on, what percentage of students are able to, kind of be exceeding expectations. And, from the diversity piece, and I'm sure people who are applying are going to know full well about various challenges that Albany has had over the last handful of years. I am always really clear in my own mind and in my things that I say that the problems that exist in Albany around diversity issues are not Albany problems, in my opinion. They are problems that are countrywide problems, worldwide problems. So I don't think that they are unique to Albany, but when we have certain populations that are smaller populations that have been less likely to have a microphone, to have our needs be the focus. And so it is a challenge. It is an area where we need to continue to grow. And then also, I think around establishing processes for, various things, but having a higher level of transparency, of communication. I think our communication has really gotten so much better over the last handful of years, and I think our community really appreciates that, but I think that we can, and it kind of connects somewhat, I think, to the vision piece and the idea of the importance of experience for the next person who's coming in. I think that we can grow as far as, what our systems and our processes are in place so that we're routinely, automatically going out to various, stakeholders in the community and always keeping them informed. And I mean, always. No one gets it 100% right, but it's something that we can improve on.
I want to really second that, the systems and processes. I think I've seen a shift just in the last little bit here of us starting to try and like tighten up some things. And it feels like, oh, now we could communicate to someone new, hey, this is how we do things. And it wouldn't have to be reinvented every time. So, yeah.
I think building on what Trustee Boyd said, it's not an Albany problem, but it's just one that we're seeing across the country, which is mental health. Students are struggling with mental health across the country, and you know, it's no different here in Albany. Like, that is an area of like, when we don't get funding from the state, you're gonna have challenges within, you know, whether it's classrooms or wherever. And so we wanna make sure that we continue to support our students and our teachers, and, you know, like just creating a healthy environment for everyone around the supports that people may need.
All right. You have some?
Most of what I would say is already, you know, I'd be echoing what everyone else has already said. I mean, the way I think about it is like, we're a small school district. There's good and bad that comes along with it. You know, that leads to some of the financial challenges that we have, and that's going to be whoever is in the role is going to have to help us work kind of through that. And then I wrote down diversity as, you know, it's really a strength of the community, but in a small district, I think one of the challenges is making sure that all of our students feel engaged and included, and they're able to find their tribe in whatever particular school or setting that they're in, and that's can be a little bit more challenging in a small district that's as diverse as ours is in the grand scheme of things. So a little bit paraphrasing what some others have said, but those are the things that kind of really resonate for me.
Do either of you have a challenge or anything that you think we need to particularly pay attention to?
I think what everyone else said, pretty much. I couldn't really think of anything like in particular.
I agree a lot with what other people said. Housing, well, not housing, but like space, physical space for classrooms, and just different programs that are needed throughout the district, because the student population just keeps increasing, but the space is pretty much staying the same. And yeah.
Also, in talking about diversity, we have a need and a genuine desire to increase diversity among our staff, teachers, administrators as well.
All right, do we all feel shared out? Okay. So now that you have an entire novel about Albany Unified, we expect the best candidates. All right. Anything else that we need to?
I just want to go back and say something. We usually don't say the number of participants, but I know Dr. Andrews mentioned how many sessions we had. There were actually 14 sessions. Some were more attended than others. So with that, there were a total of 65 participants in all. But I want to say that we had 664 responses to the survey, which is like a ton more than I usually see for a district this size. And
I bet at least 2.5.
Yeah, so it's like, so even though what we've seen is some of the district community forums are not as attended as we'd like to see, but we made up with that in terms of the number of responses that we've seen on the survey. So I just want to thank the community in terms of participating in those surveys.
Okay, thank you for that portion. One more thing, and that has to do with, it's the composition of the community panel. I have a recommendation. Please, it is up to the district. My recommendation is that you have one person from ATA, one person from CSEA, one person from SEIU, maybe one administrator, one community person, A community person can be a parent, but maybe not. It could be a business person, and then you have a parent involved as well, and then maybe one confidential employee. And that would seem to kind of round out the panel. Please feel free to add, subtract. It is up to the board on what you believe is a good representation of the community, and that's where these groups would represent a pretty good swath of the community. There may be people or groups that I'm missing, but I'm open, and your decision as to who we invite. The other thing I would suggest is that Howard Schultz, some of you may know him as one of the founders of Starbucks, and he had us a saying, and it started off with opening their very first Starbucks, and they went out and got all the equipment, everything set, ready to go, and they started to sweep the floors with the brooms, and the brooms didn't work on the floors that they had. So the lesson he had was, let the person who's using the broom pick the broom. So my suggestion would be, if whatever groups you identify, there may be some that you want to select specifically, but let them select their representative.
Okay, so basically, we just say, we're taking one person from each of these groups.
Mm-hmm.
We let them, I think that only would be challenging with with community.
Right, community and
members.
parents may be.
Yeah, we need something. Yeah, Trustee Khan.
Could you repeat the list
Sure.
that you recommended?
Absolutely. One ATA, one SEIU, one CSEA, one administrator, one community member, one parent, one confidential employee.
So how many would you have optimally on a panel? How many?
Research says 5 to 8
5 to 8.
is the number.
We're looking at, if we do it, he just recommended it's about 6. Yeah. So I think, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was the one I missed. Thank you. That's who I made this list, and I was trying to think I'm missing somebody, and I thought of it, and I forgot to write it down.
Yeah, I was just gonna say whether it's possible or not to have a student, like whether it's one of us or like ASB or something.
Well, I think you two will be participating in the board portion. Am I correct? No.
No.
So then we should have one of them be a part of this other.
Correct.
And I would prefer that it be one or both of you on this. So I don't know if you guys heard at our last meeting, but there was a lot of concern around confidentiality because of these superintendents. If someone is leaving a position and interviewing with us, they start to get a little bit worried about their district finding out, and we can all understand that. So we have to really be thoughtful about making sure that people on this panel, understand those things. And so I think it would be really helpful if the two of you were on that. And then the board, we are going to be flies on the wall, I guess was what was said. We could observe. Oh, no, sorry, we're going to switch off. That's right.
Yeah.
So we said ATA, SEIU, CSEA, student, 1 or 2, administrator, and was there another?
Community.
Community member. Okay, so that,
With the list that I have here, there are 8.
yeah, so that's 8 maximum,
Yeah,
and that's
one
including
student.
two.
One student, it makes it 8.
Okay.
Well, I have one ATA, one CSA, CSEA, one SEIU, one community, one parent, one confidential employee, and then we could have 2 students.
You have an admin,
You missed admin.
administrator?
I thought confidential employee was an admin.
No.
We need a confidential employee and an admin.
Can have, it's up to you.
We don't need anything.
You don't have to, you can have.
Okay, so we could just have one admin, but when we're speaking about admin, we don't mean executive cabinet, we mean site admin.
More than likely, yes.
Okay,
But that's up to you. It's up to you. And my reason for suggesting only one student is because you have one representative of all other groups. So that's my only reason. But again, your option.
the only reason that I would be comfortable with letting it be both our student board members is because the entire board gets to participate in the rest of it and they don't. So if we're doing a student and we say the two of them, that would be my only, but I'm one board member, so. Which we don't have to have both. Okay. So then if each of our unions can recommend their representative, and how do we want to be notified of that?
So I was actually going to suggest possibly removing the parent from the panel, because, I mean, these are all recommendations, but for me, I think parents, if we've had over 700 responses from parents already, I feel like the parent voice has very much been heard.
That's from teachers, students,
And parents.
that number, right? So that's not just
Community.
broader community.
I mean, if that's the case, I would be comfortable with removing the community and parent person. And for me, it's like, we don't want this panel to get way too large. It gets, like, I think having been on both the end of interviewing people, and we were a large panel, and also being on the end where I was being interviewed, and there was like 20+ people interviewing me, like, I'm telling you, it just, I'm not comfortable with it. I would rather both of the sessions mirror kind of like the 5 and 5, you know? I feel like that would, like, if I was somebody coming into this position and I had 2 panels of 5, like with board members and then 5 on the other panel, that would be more that I would feel comfortable with. And maybe a little bit of flexibility there, but yeah.
Did we have former board members on panels prior? Because that was a category that in those 19 groups of people that we had initially.
We did have,
right?
yeah, we did have board
Former board was
members.
one, and I'm just saying, if we're not going to have, I'm not comfortable with not having community/parent.
Okay, so I'm going to
So
propose,
it could be a former board member
Yeah.
who's and is also community and parent, perhaps. I just think we,
so maybe that could help us, because I was going to say, I think that just finding a parent in the community it's a big process, and we need to move a little quickly. And I also, you know, I think we have to be really careful about how we navigate that. It's very easy for us to say, okay, student board members, yes. Okay, one representative from each of our unions, yes. One admin, I mean, I think that our admin team would have to just say, this is our representative as well. And then for our community or parent person, I mean, I do think a former board member could be helpful, but I also feel like we have the current board and we can hear from them.
I don't love the idea of prioritizing former board members. I think the board is the board. I do think a community/parent is really important. I think, and I'm not saying this isn't important, but ATA, SEIU, CSEA, admin, confidential employee, that's 5 people who work for the district, right? Like, I mean, I want to have like someone else who's not in our, you know, our students. Like, I think it's unfortunate if we can only have one community/parent, you know, caregiver, et cetera, person, but I think we at least need that one.
Well, how are we going to find that one and make it, yeah.
There's also the potential to consider city council, and the only reason I say this is because we are such a small district and there is overlap, and we have for years been wanting the city council and the school board to work together. And I'm wondering if that could be our community/parent person. And no, it was a vigorous head shake for me. I will stop right there. That's why we're discussing, right? We're just throwing all the things out and considering and seeing what sticks, so, yeah.
I wouldn't know how to identify community or parent. I totally understand the challenge, but I do remember in those 19 categories of groups, city council was one category, board members were another. I don't have that in front of me. I couldn't tell you what the other 17 were, but I'm just wondering if there is a way of identifying someone who isn't an employee/student, someone who's from the community. We've talked about how important the community is, so I just feel like that doesn't make sense to me to not have someone from the community.
I don't know how we choose the community parent person, but one way of narrowing, I feel like, is parent engagement group leaders, PTA leaders. Like there's, people who have, like pitched in and have been leading, groups in this community.
Another suggestion, and feel free to throw it out if you guys would like, but a part of me is wondering, like, school care. I feel like school care is a huge community that stays engaged. There's a mix of like parent and or community, and it's a group that is very involved with the district to the point that like they have supported us in so many initiatives. Again, just
Then
throwing it out
I would
there.
say we'd have to go with then like Albany Education Foundation. Like, why are we?
That's what I meant, like kind of in this realm of like groups that have supported us in some, I don't know.
Oh, Mike.
Different ways. Oh, sorry, yeah, Mike. Right. Sorry, I thought you were going to say that. Yeah, no, I can think of people in the community who have supported in lots of ways. Measure G, PTA, etc. And I think probably we can just offline we can suggest people because we don't want to be throwing names out sitting here necessarily.
I do wonder, could we do like could there be like some sort of a nomination or something where it's basically like, okay, look, we're looking for a community person. We literally need it by the end of this week, though. We need to know the person because September 6th, I guess we need to have our person by September 6th. Is that?
Probably later, I'm assuming the interview process.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have time to do like a community
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm not like, let's do a popularity contest, but I do think that it could be helpful for us to do that. I want to make sure we don't miss anyone who really wants to do this.
If you get it to us by somewhere around September 10th, then we should be okay.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is,
Can someone repeat where we ended up?
can someone tell you where we end up? Welcome to the dais. Here you go.
I asked the question that everybody else was thinking. I've written down 4 versions of this, so let's, where are we going
So
with?
here's where we're at. You ready?
Hit us, board president.
Here's where we are, okay? ATA is going to send us their nominated person. Looks like we have one right here. All right, woohoo. One down. ATA will be represented by a to-be-confirmed person, but we are very grateful. Okay. CSCA will follow the same process by giving us their representative. SEIU will follow the same process by giving us their representative's name. We will have our site admins give us their nominated or selected representative as well. I'm at 4 so far.
Are you limiting it to the site versus not the cabinet? I'm just out of curiosity.
We really appreciate our cabinet, but I think that we should give ours. I personally am going to recommend that it be site admin, but I'm happy to hear from other board members if they have a different feeling.
I'm sorry to interrupt. You were doing such a great job, too. Thank you. Sorry.
We're at 4.
I agree with you.
We're at 4.
Okay.
2 student board members.
Okay.
Okay. And then our community member who will come to us through a nomination process. And then we can still do a confidential employee.
So the parent and community member can possibly be one, or without the parent?
It's going to be one person.
Right, okay.
One person.
Okay.
We're at 8, and that's that.
That's if we're doing the confidential.
Right.
Not.
Who would, can I have some examples of our,
I was gonna.
who are, yeah. So, do we have a spy? Who's our confidential? Oh, Julie.
Anyone who's working in HR as the admin, some of those folks who have very confidential jobs that are considered confidential.
Oh, I didn't. thought about it in a different way. That's great. Thank you for that clarification.
Okay, so I think a confidential employee.
Yep, now I'm on board.
Particularly those who are going to be working closest with this
Exactly.
person.
Yeah, I had it as like the
Okay.
mystery person, but it's not. It's actually, yeah, exactly. I'd like to bring up. Yeah, we're good.
Actually, that one member of this committee has to wear a trench coat and a hat. That's the only stipulation. Okay, so I'm going to review one last time. Are we ready? ATA, giving us a nomination, okay? CSEA, giving us a nomination or selection. SEIU, giving us a selection. 2 student board members are our student representation. 1 confidential employee to be given to us at a certain point. 1 site administrator to be selected and given to us at a future date. And then we will do a nomination process in the community. If everybody's, does anybody feel like, I want to work on that? Like, does anyone feel really, I'm happy to, you want to do it? I mean, you're like, could we do this work? And it's on you. Okay, so Melissa and I will work on that.
Nice.
No, actually, it has to be, sorry, okay. We will work on that, and then Superintendent Evans will share it out to the board, kind of how we've figured that out. And everything will be solidified by September 10th.
Correct.
Yes.
Not to be that person, but have we asked if the student trust, I know we like signed both of them up, but are they available on the day of?
We don't know when the interview is going to be yet. Oh, right, that weekend.
28th and the 29th of September.
Are you guys available the 28th
All
and
day.
29th? All day, both days.
Well, that's what the thing says. So.
No, I know, but I mean, we can.
Going to a secret location in trench coats and hats.
I think that we're not, like, no one person, well, I don't know what we're going to be required to do, but we certainly would not require of our students to be available all day, every day for a full weekend. So I think it's important, I know that that's what I wrote on my calendar, block these full days, but, you know, I'm a grown person. I, like, signed up for this. You guys signed up for it as well. But yeah, I think that we're prioritizing them being there here. So if you have any availability during that weekend, like we would, you know, and you wanted to participate, we would prioritize making it work.
Yeah, no,
Or you could each,
I just wanted to make sure they were.
you could alternate. You two would let us know what works best. Yeah, okay. But I think that's important for all of our union representatives to be aware that those are our dates.
Right, exactly.
Please do not plan a vacation on that weekend. And
Right, so the dates are September 28th and 29th for the interviews.
She could come, she could be our community representative. Melissa had to cancel a trip with her mom, so I said her mom could just come and join us and be our community representative. That solves all the problems. Okay. Ready?
Yeah.
We're good?
We're good.
You have a load of information from us.
I do.
Woohoo.
Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.
I think we need to make a motion that this is what we're officially doing.
Process.
Okay.
Process.
Okay, I'll move to approve what we've discussed, the process. I'm not going to restate it because it's quite long, but yes, I think we all know and it's all recorded what we've agreed on.
For a second.
So we've talked about characteristics. I could say we are going to vote to approve ATA, CSEA, SEIU, 1 admin, 2 students, community/parent, and a confidential employee.
Okay.
I second the motion.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
let's get a superintendent on board because someone has a vacation to go on that we cannot cancel.
Thank you.
I remember when you committed to this and you were like, yeah, through July 1st. And I was like, or September? Maybe a few more times to make sure we transition well. Okay, we are closing a review and action item for this evening, and we now have our superintendent and board member reports.
You want to go first?
You always get to go.
I'll get to first? Okay.
I go last.
Thank you. I just want to remind the community that on Thursday, we have back to school night at our elementary school. So I'm hoping to see many of you there. As some of the parents, or two of the parents, stated earlier about the message that went out to our families and to our staff, one of the things I want to say is that we try our very, very best to get things right, and we try to communicate as quickly as possible. And we do have a protocol that we follow in terms of when we receive a complaint or incident that's happened. We try to follow the protocol. And I do want to let parents know that we know there's more that we can do, and we are open to suggestions in terms of making what we have work or work better. But I do know there's always room for improvement, but we are trying our very best to get it right. So those are like things I really want to say. Oh, and I want to thank all the parents that that participated in the input sessions. Like I said, we had about 65 participants. Some were more attended than others, but I was really pleasantly surprised by the number of surveys that were completed by staff and in the various languages that we had. And of course, we offered it in 4 different languages. So thank you so much for that.
Brief board report. For the high school, there is the first PTSA meeting of the year will be on September the 11th from 6 till 7 in the library at the high school, and then that's followed immediately after by back to school night from 7 till 9, which will be in the gym. And also just people who have seniors and seniors themselves, keep a close eye on the calendar at the high school, because there are lots of deadlines right now for things like letters of recommendation. College application night via Zoom is on the 4th of September, Club Rush on September the 9th, but I would just urge everybody to, keep a lookout for these deadlines. Thanks.
Just a couple things for the middle school. Like the high school, we have our first PTA meeting on September 5th. That's not like the high school, they're different dates, but it will be immediately followed by the back to school night. So the first AMS PTA meeting is 5:45, and then the back to school night starts at 6:30. That's on September 5th. Also, our PTA membership has been just going through the roof, and people are doing a really great job, and we're getting close to our first goal of the year. So encourage community members to keep joining the AMS PTA. And then the second thing I want to say, and I'm going to be brief with it because I've already cried tonight, is it's a little bit of a Dr. Evans appreciation post. I just want to go on record and be super clear with saying that this man came into our district and it was not, I don't think that it was because he was looking for a new way to get, money in his bank account. I don't think it's because he was bored and didn't know how to kind of fill his days and nights and weekends. For those of us who were trying to figure out what we were going to do after we lost Dr. Wells, and we're literally just speaking for myself, couldn't comprehend the idea of what we were going to do. This person came in who knew us, who knew our district, who cared about us in our district, and who cared about Dr. Wells, and came in to do this in large part for him and for what he cared about, for what was important to him. Came in without ego, without agenda, beyond just trying to lift us up and carry us through this period of time to get us to the next place. And as I have told him personally, I will never stop being grateful for him for that. I just want it to be clear to our community that this is someone who has come in with an open heart, with kindness and gentleness and warmth and compassion and knowledge of who we are and care for who we are, wanting to help us move to this next step. So I thank you.
Never easy following Trustee Boyd. Let the record be show. But I have a number of updates. OtterPop Wednesday starts tomorrow. I know our kids love that. I know, what a wonderful update.
Awesome.
The community loves it. And so, so OtterPop Wednesday, right after school tomorrow. Our librarian, gosh, my brain is just gone. Miss Michelle is seeking library volunteers. If anybody would like to sign up to volunteer in the library, the sign up is now on Parent Square. Please feel free to sign up and share it with folks that may be interested. Yes, the elementary back to school night is on the 29th, but TK at Ocean View has their back to school night on September 5th from 6 to 6:45 p.m. Labor Day is 9/2, September 2nd, no school, just remember that. And then PTA at Ocean View will be meeting September 12th at 6 p.m. in the library. Please join us. We're going to be planning our fall festival, which is, amazing and wonderful. And then lastly, kind of on the same note as Trustee Boyd, I just wanted to share my appreciation for Dr. Evans. I think after the passing of Dr. Wells, for me, it was extremely difficult to stay engaged in a lot of the volunteer work that I would do on our school sites. Like, I literally just could not do it. I just needed that space, to take care of myself. But last week, I had the pleasure of serving lunch to our lovely Ocean View kiddos with Dr. Evans, and it was just a wonderful way to be back on campus and feel, just feel okay, first of all, but then also just meet our students and engage with them and talk to our staff and just see, what's working really well on campus and where people, need us to step up more or what have you. But it was a really, really wonderful experience, and I deeply thank you for inviting me to that. But also, like Trustee Boyd said, you've taken on so much in such a short amount of time, well beyond what we contracted you for. And it is truly a labor of love. And I just wanted to thank you for that and for creating space for us. That's all.
It's perfectly valid to say no report.
No report.
Okay.
Not following either one of those.
You're like, I'd like to welcome our newest board member who has now had an introduction with trial by fire. Welcome to the board. Also our interim superintendent, trial by fire. Please stay with us for this transition time. And okay, Cornell is loving having HVAC. It is a difference. Okay, we did it. Yes. Guys, my first ever board meeting I attended, my kiddo walked out of kindergarten all red-faced with a headache, and I was like, we can't have kids in this building. And Dr. Wells the next day was like, we're gonna fix this, we're on it. And I was just like, wow, you really care so much. Okay, Popsicle Wednesdays are starting at Cornell. Also, we all love our popsicles. They're always looking for volunteers. It's super fun. For a first time ever, there is childcare at Back to School Night at Cornell. There's a sign-up form going around for that one. And there are parents volunteering for drop-off times and the principal's out there and everything. So it's kind of a change in the feel there. Really exciting. And that's kind of that. I'll save my appreciations for other meetings. Oh.
So sorry. It just occurred to me, the reason that we have not had Marin-specific announcements is because our former board member was the Marin representative, and we have not transitioned those responsibilities over yet. It is not a lack of love of Marin, and my children went to Marin, and they also had popsicles, so I would assume that Marin is also having popsicles.
I'm going to go ahead and say that we're all just going to keep doing our best, and there have been a lot of transitions recently, and we have not rocked the boat too badly. So I appreciate that everyone has there's been a lot of extra time given as well by people, and I think that that's something that's not really seen, but our leadership and I'm sure our teachers and our teachers' leadership and all of those others, I mean, it's been a lot of extra hours and time and commitments, and I want to really appreciate that. Okay. Ayush, we did student board member reports earlier, and we didn't have any, but do you have anything you want to share, add in right now?
No.
Okay, great. We're just glad you're here. It's all good. Okay. Real quick, future agenda items or matters introduced by the board. Go ahead.
I'm a bit like a broken record, but I would really like to look into a screen tech phone district policy. I know they've tightened things up at the high school, which people are grateful for, but every day, this morning, there were today 2 articles, Washington Post this morning, Christian Science Monitor today, just about the harm of cell phones in general, and I just think we need to get that in a sort of board policy. We need to make policy about that, not keep talking about it. So if we could get that on an agenda, I've been talking about this for 6 months. I would love to do that in a soon.
So hot. No, you didn't see me earlier? Like,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, you're good.
I do want to second that because it's not just at the high school or middle school, but we're seeing that also at the elementary level, and a district-wide policy would be greatly appreciated.
all right, let's just put it on our next agenda. Policy time. Okay, we're doing it.
Yeah, that
I think we were all waiting for Newsom to just do it for us, and we were like, come on, buddy. No, okay. Note, that's noted. Any other? I would really like an update. I sent you and Scott an email. I know he's on vacation. I really want to make sure we follow up on the bathrooms at Cornell. I love bringing up the bathrooms at Cornell. We had an ADA adjustment that had to be made, and I'm concerned that it limited the number of toilets available, and I want to make sure that they have those. I would also like us to test our water fountains for lead, because neighboring districts did it, and it was not great. And I think we should just make sure we're on top of it. Our last one was like many years ago.
No, that is.
So I think that we should do those. We should put those on and talk about it. And then trying to make sure. I think that's it. Okay, we're going to bring back the committees in September. I was like getting it ready, and Julie said, no, you said September. Okay, we're good. Meeting adjourned. See you next time. Oh, all right. I never use it. Here you go. End it. There we go.